Hello, and welcome to this Madam T Mercury Retrograde in Cancer update for June 24th, 2020. It's actually it's pretty early in the morning, and it's been another night that I've found, regardless of how tired I am, it's difficult to sleep. And as I've checked in with others, it seems to be a fairly common trend, and I'm noticing it with both divine femmes and divine masculines, especially for those that find themselves in, I want to say, increased separation. It might be that you've been in separation for some time, and had some contact here and there, maybe some crumbs or things like that, or maybe you've only been giving crumbs, but for a myriad of reasons, this Mercury retrograde has, well, not just the Mercury retrograde. We've got, 5 other planets in retrograde, including Venus, Saturn. And we have already been through 2 eclipses, one lunar, one solar, and we're headed towards another lunar eclipse. And the solar eclipse was the new moon solar eclipse, which does not often happen. And there's no coincidences in it, because a new moon with a solar eclipse that is literally divine feminine, divine masculine union, so to speak. It's also, because it's an eclipse of the visibleness of that in the 3D. And it was also widely predicted by many astrologers that I follow and many readers that with all the retrogrades, Mercury in particular, and that solar eclipse, that the well, it's not just that, the Neptune retrograde is another big one, in that when Neptune is direct, there are various themes of illusions and things that occur. When it goes retrograde, it tends to reveal things that were hidden before. And, well, I can say that's definitely been going on for me personally. And I've been noticing it happening for those in my soul tribe, and seeing coming out from other readings, and just generally sensing from the collective overall. And I think for most of us, what's being revealed is things within ourselves, codependencies, feeling like we need somebody else in order to hold our attention or help us generate passion, or to keep us safe from the boogeymen and women and things that go bump in the night. And it's illuminating our crutches, the things, whether they're family members or alcohol or drugs or gambling, materialism, or a disdain for any of those things, because both sides can manifest problems. Whatever it is, it's coming out. And if you've had any hidden enemies in your midst, or adversaries, or those who are just certainly not helping your case, they're being revealed. And the same for your divine partner. They're having that happen too. And because it's a Mercury retrograde, there are some different illusions that get mixed in with what is being illuminated by Neptune in retrograde. So there are many misunderstandings happening. And this particular retrograde, it seems to be cycling through what the last major retrograde, the first one of this year, the last one before this one, which was in Pisces, another water sign. It appears that they're cycling together, like that this regularly happens with Mercury retrograde, but for whatever reason, the portals and the connections and things of this year seem to be more significant. and more noticeable. And so you might think back, like, what was going on 4 or 5 months ago? What were you going through on your own? What were you going through with your divine femme or divine masculine? And what are you noticing that is reoccurring right now? In fact, you might even be absolutely up to your ears fed up with some sort of repeat cycle or old momentum and contrast, some sort of argument or fighting that you thought that you had already had and didn't need to have again. Or it might be that agreements that should have been made before now that you let slip, and now they must be made. There are many more energies like this to play out still, and I think the biggest thing to really keep in mind right now is that Mercury retrograde in particular is about learning to trust your intuition. That doesn't necessarily mean toss out your instincts or ignore reality completely, but it does mean that reality is warped. Communication is warped, misunderstandings are heightened, and, well, things tend not to stick when they happen during times like this, or if they do stick, they tend to unstick during the following retrograde. So if you come across what feels like any sort of like major fight, typically it won't stand. Or if there's any, if you find that your masculine or feminine seems to be holding on tighter to a karmic or a situation that you know isn't great for them or doubling down on it, just know it's more about them learning lessons that they're fighting learning than it is about an actual sign that they're not coming back or that they're getting worse or anything. Mercury retrograde in particular, especially under a Saturn retrograde and Venus retrograde, tend to bring out a lot of our mother father wound issues that keep us codependent and keep us staying with friends and lovers and family who are toxic for us for fear that we need them in order to survive in some sort of way. And while everybody tends to focus more on Mercury retrograde's less favorable uh, adventures, it actually serves a great purpose in that every time we are faced with these shadows and every time these obstacles come around, we have an opportunity to heal them, to place a boundary where there wasn't one before, to maybe bring down a boundary that was too rigid or held too high of expectations that were hurting others, or to take some space, you know, let love grow within that space to prove to ourselves that we are worthy of standing on our own and seeing that that is when spirit lifts us up the most. And really, I mean, when it comes to the illusions that can be brought about, and especially with this with the Neptune retrograde, we're seeing a lot of truths, but they're also being misheard or misunderstood or miscommunicated, you might be saying to your divine partner, like, hey, I see that this is a problem, and we can't keep interacting if you have this problem. Maybe you got kids with them or something, and something they're doing is unhealthy around them, and what they're hearing is you're trying to control them, or you're trying to stomp on their fun, or something like that, or you're trying to be rigid about the way that they want things. You want to see things done, when that's not at all what you meant. Or you might hear your masculine or feminine say something that sounds to you that way. And you're like, whoa, whoa, hold your horses, don't do that. Or it might seem that those that you've come to rely on for emotional support are not there as much as they were before. Or maybe they seem wrapped up in other things. Or it might seem even that people that you could have sworn were not friendly to you before now all of a sudden seem like they are. Only you can really know what is true. And that means really sinking in and listening to your intuition. which really I think right now is the update, and it's what is best to focus on. What does your intuition say? What feels good? Where 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 is your heart calling you towards? What brings you joy? No matter what, no matter who's there or who's not there. What fills you with confidence and playfulness and makes you feel hopeful about the future? And, if you're having a hard time really focusing on just you alone in that moment, and think about your 5D divine partner and think about what is it that you would want with them in the future. Don't worry so much about what's going on right now. Spirit always has your back, and sometimes the best way to recognize that is to take a leap of faith and do things that you didn't think you could do before, or revisit things that you thought would hurt so much. Dig out those shadows so you can bring out the joy and follow your intuition and follow your heart and amaze yourself.